Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Now if you're on AT&T and you want an Android smartphone with a physical keyboard, you only have a few choices. Two of those are the Pantech crossover and the HTC Status. Both of these ship with excellent physical keyboards. I've done reviews on both of them. They're both decent mid-range phones, but which one should you buy? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this dogfight. We're going to compare both of them, features, keyboard, performance, and then see which one comes out the winner and which one you should buy. Now, before we get on to the dogfight, I had to say, especially to our friends at Best Buy Mobile, the reason we thank them all the time is because they send us phones that we can add to our One Paw Bandit game, which is the game where you guys can win free phones. One of the great things about Best Buy Mobile is that when you buy a phone from them, you don't have to worry about rebates. You don't have to worry about waiting 6 to 8 weeks to get the rebate or remembering to mail it in. The price on the tag is the price you pay. So thank you, Best Buy Mobile, for being so awesome. Thank you guys for watching this video. It's a Pantech crossover and the HTC Status from AT&T. I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Let's go check it out. Okay, so on the left we have the HTC Status and on the right is the Pantech crossover. So first of all, the main reason why we're doing this dogfight is because these are two phones on AT&T with a physical keyboard, two Android phones with a physical keyboard. They both kind of have different form factors though, so you can see the HTC Status is kind of a portrait style form factor with a small display and then portrait style keyboard, whereas the crossover is kind of the more mainstream form factor that we're more used to, with a larger display and the keyboard that slides out to the left. Now, each one kind of has their advantages. The obvious advantage to the crossover's form factor being that it has a larger display and a larger keyboard. Now, some people prefer the portrait style keyboard, so that kind of just depends on your personal preference. But the display is definitely an advantage, especially after testing out both phones. I can definitely say that the crossover has a 3.1-inch display and the HTC Status has a 2.6-inch display. So, obviously there's the things in terms of being able to see more whenever you're web browsing or using an app. It's larger. But not only that, the Status also has problems because of the format of the display. Some apps don't load correctly. They don't display correctly. So I could go, for example, to Quadrant Standard, and it will load in portrait mode. It thinks that it's in landscape mode right now, so it's a portrait only app. So it's going to load like this. For this app, it's not really that big of a problem because you're not doing a whole lot. You don't have to look at a whole lot. But whenever you're using a game, that can become a problem. It's just kind of frustrating. Some apps will work in horizontal mode. I can go to this Movies app. This will work in landscape mode, and so no problem there, but then other apps won't. It's kind of a hit and miss. So that's a definite negative. Obviously you're not going to have that problem with a Pantech crossover. Now that might not bother everybody because maybe the apps that you use, you won't have that problem, but I can say that if you play a lot of games, it's probably more the games that you're going to have more problems with, more of the games that will be portrait only. So a negative there for the Status. Now, both of these phones ship with Android 2.2. As of the filming of this video, I don't have any word on when they will get 2.3. AT&T has said that all of their Android phones that came out this year, 2011, will get 2.3, but I don't know when. So it ships with 2.2, and as you can see, they both use a custom skin. So the Status ships with HTC Sense, which is a really popular skin, so you're probably familiar with the visual aspects that it adds. It comes with several custom widgets, which we can see if we go to Personalize Widget, and we'll look at the HTC widget. Of course, comes with all of the stock Android widgets, but you can see some of the HTC widgets that it comes with. This is a popular UI. I think visually it's very refined, very pretty, but also very useful. You have things like on the unlock screen. This is a feature that HTC, I don't know who this is, so don't worry about that phone number. This is a feature that HTC has added to this version of Sense. You have shortcuts that you can customize, and then I can drag it down to the ring, and then it will automatically open that app. So very useful, but at the same time, very visually appealing. I think HTC has done a great job with that. Now, the crossover, again 2.2, Android 2.2, and it also has a custom UI. This one made by Pantech. Now, Pantech has incorporated a lot of features that HTC incorporated. For example, if I had any missed calls, messages, emails, a shortcut to that app, whoops, would show up down here in this gray bar, and then just like with the status, I could drag that icon up to the center of this circle, and when it would unlock and go directly to that app. I don't have any, so I'm just going to peel down the sticker as it says. So again, some more, you know, another custom UI, so you have the dock at the bottom, and then Pantech has also added some custom widgets, so you can go and we can see their custom widgets. Now again, these are very, very well designed. You have several options for a clock, and you can see, you know, a lot of lesser known custom UIs, they kind of tend to be hit and miss. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. This is really Pantech's first attempt at their own custom skin. I really think they've done a good job with it. Their widgets are just as useful as the widgets that you're going to get with HTC Sense. It really just depends on which one you prefer visually. We'll take a look at some of these widgets. We have a posting widget where I can post to Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. The status also has this widget. I don't know if I have it on my home screen right now. I don't think I do. But the status also has this widget. I have an email widget, a social net widget, which is similar to FriendStream. So a lot of similarities here. And again, like I said, it just depends on which one you prefer. Now we'll take a look at the hardware for both of these phones. So the status is known as a Facebook phone, and the reason for that is because it has this dedicated Facebook button. It seems like a gimmick, I know, but if you use Facebook a lot, it's actually very useful, because if you want to post to your wall, whereas on most phones you have to have, you know, a dedicated widget or even an icon, you know, it doesn't take up that much space, but it is some space, and also you have to, you know, go to the home screen where it's at, whereas on the status you just press the button, boom, it opens the window, you post, or you can post to your wall or any of your friends' walls or wall, and you can also add photos or go to your camera and then add that picture. It just, you know, very simple. I know it seems extremely simple, and it is. That's kind of the point of it. If I do a long press, it'll open to where I can find my location and then check in and post my location on Facebook. So again, very simple. Now the crossover doesn't have that, obviously, because it's not a Facebook phone. You know, not a big deal, but if you are a heavy Facebook user, obviously I would recommend going with the status. Now if we take a look at the physical keyboards here, I talked a little bit about this in the beginning when I mentioned that, you know, the advantage to the crossover's form factor is that it has a wider keyboard. Now that's not going to bother everybody, because some people do prefer a portrait style keyboard. So if we take a look at the status, you kind of get a good look at it. The keys are plastic, so you have this aluminum backing, but the keys are plastic, and then they are raised. They have kind of this bubble design to them. Are island style keys, which are very helpful. Sometimes whenever the keys are plastic and don't have a lot of grip to them, they kind of can be a little difficult to differentiate between each key. But having island style keys and kind of that little wall between each key, it's very easy to differentiate between each key. I have no problems typing, and as you can see, it does have autocorrect functionality. Jumps over. So it's a really nice keyboard. I like it. You have dedicated keys for period, question, or period, comma, and question mark, which is very nice. You don't get that with a lot of keyboards. The status keyboard is definitely one of the best ones that I've used. It's very well designed. Now the crossover also has a terrific keyboard, and the keys are flat. They're definitely not raised like the status keys are, if you can see that from that angle. So they're very flat, still island style keys, which helps whenever you have the flat keyboard style. And also these keys are slightly more rubbery than the status keys. So you kind of have, you know, both ends of the spectrum, but at the same time they work just as well, because you have plastic keys with no grip, but they're raised and they're island style, so it makes up for it. Here I have flat keys but they're still island style, and they have more grip, which makes up for being flat. So, kind of, different size, but different sides of the coin, but they make up for it with being, extra grippy. Again, the crossover has a great keyboard. Let me unlock it. We'll take a look at it. You do still have dedicated keys for period and question mark, which makes typing pretty easy. They both have these navigational arrows. You can see these on the crossover and then on the status. Let me go to messaging, and you can see more of the Pantech UI here. It's very heavy, going from stock Android to this custom UI. There's a lot of customizations that Pantech has added, so we'll do the quick brown fox jumps. So you can see I can type just as fast, and I really don't have any problems. So both keyboards are top-notch. Just remember, flat, grippy keys on the crossover and raised plastic keys on the status, and everyone has their own personal preference. You can see here that the crossover does also have a couple of virtual keyboard options. You have the stock Android keyboard, and you also have swipe, so you can use that. The status doesn't have any virtual keyboard, so it's the physical keyboard only.